coming up on Chopper's political broadcast. I was not a racist. Why did you put me through that?
Welcome back to Chopper's Political Podcast, where I bring you the best guests, gossip, news and stories from our studio at GB News, here in the heart of Westminster. What's it like to be cancelled, to say something in the heat of the moment and then face a prosecution, be found guilty and see a political career in ruins? And then to win on appeal, see that conviction quashed, but all too late to stop an exit from the House of Commons. That's exactly what happened to my guest this week, Colonel Bob Stewart, a former British Army officer, a United Nations commander in Bosnia, who was MP for Beckenham from 2010 to 2024. In November 2023, prosecutors secured a conviction for a racially aggravated public order offence against Bob Stewart, and he was fined. He quit as an MP immediately, but then in February 2024, just last year, that conviction was overturned by Southwark Crown Court on appeal. But by then, it was too late to save his career, as he had already gone, as I said. And at 74 years old, he may have quit anyway, but maybe not. It wasn't on his terms. It was a sad end to, I would say, a decent prolonged period as a Tory MP. Bob Stewart has never ever spoken about that time ever before until now on this podcast, on Chopper's Political Podcast. I spoke to him earlier. With me now is Colonel Bob Stewart. Bob Stewart, the former MP for Beckenham 2010 to 2024. Bob Stewart, welcome to Chopper's Political Podcast. You've been through a lot, haven't you? I mean, looking at your background here, you did 20 years service in the British Army.
28, actually.
28 years in the British Army. You're a colonel in the Cheshire Regiment. You served in Northern Ireland. You saw some horrific things there, of course, the drop in the well bomb at Ballykelly. You're the Bosnia commander, UN forces, 1993. You became known as Bosnia Bob, as the face of that peacekeeping force. And we'll come on to that later, the issue of peacekeeping. I think that's important as we go towards what might be the end game in the Ukraine war. But something happened to you towards the end of your time as a Tory MP, which put a cloud...
Deeply upset
you, and you told the court that. So what happened in December 2022?
I've always loved Bahrain. I first went there on the 25th of July, 1969, the day after I was commissioned from Sandhurst, where my battalion was stationed, and I served there for a while. And ever since then, I've been backwards and forwards to Bahrain. I like the people. It's a lovely country. And when I became a Member of Parliament, Chris, I joined the Bahrain group, all-party group, and then I became the chairman of it. And of course, I visited Bahrain. And to me, it's an enlightened country. I mean, when I visited there, they've got a synagogue with a thriving Jewish community there in an Arab country. You could worship a tree in Bahrain if you wished to, and there was no objection to that. So I visited prisons in Bahrain, and they are actually better than ours. They are well looked after, and the law works. Now, I really, really care about Bahrain. It's a good people. Yes, it's not like us. It's not a democracy like us, but it's trying, for goodness sake. Why do we think it's taken 800 years for us to get an imperfect democracy at Westminster? 800 years. And we, in a few, half a century, less than half a century, Bahrain has come. They've got a parliament. They've got women parliamentarians. Yeah. They've got women ministers. I mean, it is a good place. When I go there and I speak to expatriates there, I say, well, when you finish your work, are you going to come back to England? Or I particularly met with the Italians there. Are you going to go back to Italy? They said, no, this is our country.
So you're a supporter of Bahrain, and that's how you find yourself at the Bahraini embassy in December 2020.
Well, it was actually Lancaster House, and they were having a celebration of independence or something. And I was walking in.
Yes.
And
And outside there were protesters.
The protesters were shouting at me.
Yes.
And they shouted fundamentally, deeply offensive stuff like, how much money has Bahrain paid you? And they kept on, this man kept on pushing them.
According to the court, this man, Sayed Alwadaei, shouted, for how much did you sell yourself to Bahrain? And you replied, according to the court reports later, go away, I hate you. You make a lot of fuss, go back to Bahrain.
Yes.
And that's the point. And maybe you shouted, you're taking money off my country, go away.
Yes.
When you said go away to this protester, what were you thinking? You weren't saying, it wasn't a racist thing.
Well, look,
what was it?
I've been brought up with Arabs. I had an Arab boy living in my bedroom for 2 years, a little boy. My father found him. Where did your father find him? In Aden. My father was a soldier, and in the desert he found this little boy. This little boy who was about our age, and his soldiers said, they were Arab soldiers, and my father spoke Arabic, and they said the best thing you can do, Saab, which is the sir in Arabic, is shoot the guy. And my father said, you must be joking. He put him on his Land Rover or something, took him back to the aircraft where they were being resupplied, sent him back to my mother with a note, rather like Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
Look after this boy. I found him. And this little boy, Ibrahim is his name, was put in our bedroom for 2 years or so. Ibrahim, my mother and my father looked after this little boy.
From Yemen? Or
he's from Yemen. It's now called Yemen, but it used to be the Protectorate.
Yeah. So what's your point there?
I am not racist.
Right.
That's my point. My point is, anyone that accused me of being racist, when I actually took at least my men and I took at least 2,000 Bosnian Muslims out of Srebrenica 2 years before they were massacred in April 1993. I deeply, deeply resent being accused of either racism in that respect, or indeed, I hate the Aussies when there's a test match on, but, I hate the idea of me being accused of racism or taking money from Bahrain, a place I love and the people I love.
So when you said go back to Bahrain, this prompted Alwadaei to complain to the Conservative Party. You apologised, but this individual...
Well, I apologise if he thought that I was being racist.
Yes, which you
I
weren't.
didn't apologise for anything else because, actually, I didn't see I'd done anything wrong.
No.
The guy was shouting at me. He was taunting me. All right, I did do one thing wrong. I shouldn't have reacted. I was a politician, but I'm not, as many people say to me when in my club, because I remember the Army and Navy Club, they were discussing it the other day. We were talking. They said, we all hate politicians. And I said, hang on, I was a politician. And all these senior officers turned to me and said, Bob, you were never a politician.
Perhaps that's part of your charm, Bob Stewart. This individual, though, he said had been victimised due to his race and nationality. The police then stepped in, the Met Police, with 2 charges under Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1981, racially aggravated abuse, plus one of non-aggravated offence under the same act. You pled not guilty on July the 19th, 2022, but you found guilty on the 3rd of November at Magistrates Court of this.
Yeah.
I mean, a £600 fine, racially aggravated public order offence. You was surrendered your Conservative whip pending appeal.
I did that voluntarily because I didn't want to embarrass the Conservative Party.
No.
I just thought this is unfair. It's unfair. I'm not in any way a racist. My support for Bahrain was unconditional, and I felt I'd actually gone out on... One, I was defending myself, but equally I was defending Bahrain, which is a good country.
So when you were found guilty in November 2023 by the Paul Goldsprings, Chief Magistrate, he said you had immensely positive character. He accepted you weren't racist. That's really important, of course. But that's not the case. Good men do bad things. I mean, it just seems... Well,
I didn't think it was a bad thing. I didn't mean to, look, with my background...
Yes.
I mean, the idea
Why
that
does that not take into account?
I didn't understand that. I explained that to the court. And I just didn't understand, one, why the police took it further. I didn't get that, but apparently, I don't blame the Metropolitan Police. They're under remit to send up such things, because I was a politician, and therefore slightly different to everyone else. But for goodness sake, Chris, under the law, I'm equal to everyone else. Just because I'm a politician, I shouldn't actually be treated more harshly under the law than anyone else.
It all hung on what do words mean. When you said, when you said go back to Bahrain, you were saying just campaign elsewhere, don't campaign here.
Yes, why not go back to Bahrain, which is where it's all about?
Of course, this individual apparently had lost his citizenship and couldn't go back to Bahrain.
I had no idea about that. I didn't even know him.
No.
He said he knew me, but I didn't know him.
The impact on you was great, but the support had raised £18,000 to cover your legal costs.
Yes.
But that didn't go to scratch the surface.
Well, in total it was 78,000. But
78,000.
But others friends chipped in, which was very kind of them. But it was a lot of money, and obviously, I'm not particularly wealthy, and I can't tell you what my wife thought about the whole business of me having. She blamed me. She said you shouldn't have reacted. She's right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have reacted. I should have been more professional. I should have allowed the water to flow over my back. But I was hurt.
Yes. Given what you were saying about your history with the Arab people and the like. So how much did you lose altogether in all this legal case?
I think in total we're about 78,000, but a lot of people helped me as well. So, about half of it.
Half of it. The impact on you was great. Your personal life suffered, I'm sure.
Well, firstly, I lost the whip, and I considered it a real privilege to be a member of Parliament. I never ever thought I had a right to put my fat bottom on those green benches.
You came into it late, didn't you?
Well, I was 60.
60, yeah. So...
I was amazed. I just thought it was a privilege at my time of life to actually sit in Parliament. And I loved, actually, the nicest thing I liked about Parliament was actually being in the chamber and the thrill and the danger of speaking in the chamber. And, to stand up. And I often used to challenge myself. Sometimes I'd use a note. Sometimes I'd use a full speech. Sometimes I'd do it off the top of my head. Yes. It's always the challenge. Well, you're a journalist. You know how words are your bread and butter. Yeah. And, speaking is what politicians should do. They shouldn't stand up in Parliament, as so many seem to do, and just read it. Just read it. They're there. Politicians are there to speak publicly.
And you made an impact. I think Quentin Letts, the parliamentary secretary of the Daily Mail, talked of you as a really good parliamentarian in your 40s.
Well, that's nice of him. He used to take the mickey out of me quite a lot. He does. But I love it. Really great bloke. What a clever man.
He does everyone. But the impact on you was great. You were cancelled, weren't you? Effectively.
Yeah.
On this.
Yeah.
You quit as a Tory MP.
Well, I thought
you stood down.
Well, I stood down because I'm 75 now.
Yes.
So I was going to be 75.
Would you have fought the election without this?
I might have done.
So,
but this was one of those tipping points. I thought, and also I felt Beckenham is going to be a new constituency.
Beckenham and Penge now.
Beckenham and Penge, and it really requires an energetic, young person who we got.
But it forced your hand. That's what happened.
It forced my hand. I might not have done it, but equally, my friends in the constituency, particularly Tony Power, who was not just my agent but my good friend, and also director of NatWest in his time, said you should think about packing up anyway because. Let's be honest, you're not getting any younger.
That's right. And then you appealed, didn't you? And on appeal in February last year, the judge found that the comments the complainant not suffered upset, alarm or distress from the remarks that were made.
Yeah.
The conviction was quashed.
Yeah.
So you were cancelled for a remark shouted at you, filmed by someone else.
Look, I was goaded. I was upset. And it was in front of people who I respected, like ambassadors.
So you reacted.
And I said, this can't be. Why the hell shouldn't I respond to someone who's saying the most awful things about me, which are untrue? I mean, I gave my time to Bahrain because I loved the bloody country.
Yeah.
Sorry, bloody, I don't mean it.
Yeah.
A lovely
country.
country.
The country, yeah.
It's a beacon in the Gulf yes, it's got a king. Yes, the king has pretty big powers, but goodness me, democracy can be... Who are we to tell others how to run their own country?
There was a huge amount of sympathy for you in the House of Commons when this happened, because they know you as a person. And again, it was quashed. And then what? I mean, in February last year, you thought, well, have I got a chance here to carry on being an MP, or you?
Well, I considered it, but I'd love to be in the Chamber of the Commons now. It's an extremely volatile, awful time, and I still keep in touch with good friends. I mean, Nigel Evans, who was the Deputy Speaker, is living in my house with me, and we if we don't talk politics each day, we'll be surprised. And we have a lot of dinners, which I hope, forgive me, I hope you'll come and join us one day. You know, where we invite people to come down. It's not far from London.
How has it affected you now? Are you less of a trusting person? I mean, in the event justice, did its work and you were found it was quashed, but it did take out a year of your life, a lot of worry.
More than a year,
More than a year, 2 years.
I mean, it's, well, the fact of the matter is I've been through worse.
Yeah.
At the Ballykelly bomb, I lost 6 men killed in one night.
And you were there.
In Bosnia, I saw the most awful things. You cannot equate this with loss of life. No. It really did affect me to lose soldiers, to be present when civilians died in either Northern Ireland or in Bosnia. So it cannot be equivalent. And the trauma of my lives have been the Ballykelly bomb in 1982 and Bosnia 92, 93. Those are the real traumas of my life.
They killed 17 people, 6 from your company, and you were there on the scene very swiftly after it happened.
I was, yes, within 3-4 minutes.
What lessons can you take though from these past 2 years? I mean, do you lose friends? Do you find out
I don't think I lost friends. I mean,
you found out who they were, maybe?
Yeah, no, not even that, because most people were sympathetic, even the opposition, the Labour Party aren't bad people. I've got a lot of friends in them, and Liberals too. But no, I didn't lose friends. What lessons do I take is, to be honest, the lesson I take is I distrust the Crown Prosecution Service. Why did they allow this huge waste of money and resources to go ahead when there are so many other things? It was clear from the evidence I gave the Metropolitan Police Sergeant that, I, 1, wasn't a racist, 2, didn't mean to upset anyone, and they should have actually taken that and looked at it and dismissed it. Instead, they put me through this trauma. Now, I'm not going to suggest that it was a political move, but I don't know. Why would a normal, rational person who's making a judgment on this not see that? Was it political?
So you think if you weren't an MP...
I think definitely if I wasn't an MP, it wouldn't have happened. Really? So because I was an MP, I think that's why it went to trial. And I understand that Metropolitan Police, I've got huge support for the Metropolitan Police, who have a most impossible job, often. The Metropolitan Police have, no doubt, they have to report their thing and sent up the file to the Crown Prosecution Service. I wonder now I'm no longer a politician. They can't get me for saying I distrust the Crown Prosecution Service after what they put me through. Fair enough. Crown Prosecution Service, and by the way, Starmer, led it at one stage. And, friends of mine have been, pilloried by the Crown Prosecution Service and pushed to trial. Nigel Evans is one, others. And the lesson I've got is, up till this time, I assumed the Crown Prosecution Service was actually neutral and working in the best interest of everyone, and actually fair. The fairness, I doubt now whether they are always fair.
Because we all should be equal in front of the law, shouldn't we?
Absolutely.
That's the point of it.
We are all equal before the law. Now, I understand that if you're in a public position, like a member of Parliament, you have other requirements. Like in the military, there's two codes you have to. One, there's civil law, and there's military law, and both count. So, in the military, you have military law on top of civil law. As a politician, perhaps there's some sort of semblance of that in the way they're treated.
And the effect might be to others, other people in their 60s might look at how you were treated and think, well, Bob just said a reaction. He wasn't being racist. It was taken, the other way by the CPS. Who went through 2 years trying to clear your name. But you've been someone who always just speaks your mind, slightly out of your time, because of maybe your different generation.
Well, it may be that you can't say things quite the same way.
No.
But for goodness sake, I am not someone that isn't fair to people. I care deeply about. One of the things I loved about being an army officer was dealing with people. One of the things I liked about being a politician was dealing with people and helping people. And so the idea that actually I would look at someone's colour or their race or their religion, it's weird. Weird to me.
And how did it feel when you had this conviction against you? I mean, after all your time, a decorated army officer who served with distinction, you won many military honours in Bosnia and elsewhere.
Well, thank you, but not that many.
Well, but more than most people. I mean, how did it feel?
It felt absolutely appalling. That night I couldn't sleep.
No.
I thought, friends of mine, the Adam Holloway always used to pull my leg and say, come and have dinner. I want to introduce the most famous racist in the country to my friends. But it was, listen to anyone listening, it was a joke. And I just fell around laughing because Adam was a huge supporter, came to both trials, and was there for me, and has always been. One thing about Adam Holloway, and he's a bloody good MP, was he was for the people of Gravesham. And not just that, he stood by his friends.
This is your first interview since you left as an MP and since you were cleared.
That's correct.
In February 2024. What's your message then to the authorities, your message to the CPS? What do you want to say?
Well, the big thing is, please be fair. It didn't seem like you were fair to me. You were not fair. I was not a racist. Why did you put me through that? And why, at the end of all this stuff, the Crown Prosecution Service says, well, here's compensation. We'll give you just under £6,000 back. Now, how can that be right? For I was lucky enough to have friends and some savings. How can that be for a normal person who doesn't have that? How can they have justice in this country if you require to spend that sort of money and they haven't got it? So that worries me. If that sort of thing happens to a normal person, it is wrong. And, the one thing about the Crown Prosecution Service, I don't want to go too much into detail because I'll be libelous or something, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, please, Crown Prosecution Service, it seemed to me you were a bit political to go for me. It seemed to me you were a bit political. You may not have been, but it seemed to me. And I certainly thought you were damned unfair on the evidence that I gave to the police.
And it's fine. Has it changed you at all? Are you less of a trusting person? Do you, are you less likely to say things to people you don't know?
No. I think, look, I'm 75 years old. What can they do to me now? I've been through the wrangle. I've actually, go on. There's nothing more you could do to me now. I've loved my life. I've been privileged to be an army officer, and I mean privileged. I have had the joy and the total privilege of commanding men, and I had the absolute privilege of being a member of Parliament. I reckon I'm a bloody lucky man.
Well, Colonel Bob Stewart, thank you for talking to us today on Chopper's Political Podcast. It's been great to hear your story. Thank you.
Okay.
Bob Stewart there. Now, I approached the Crown Prosecution Service for a response to Bob Stewart's remarks. Sources told me that it can't find any record of compensation being paid out, although the defence may have applied for and received costs from the Court Service's Central Fund. And a CPS spokesman told me this: our decision to prosecute this case was based solely on the evidence provided. The CPS is independent and political influence plays absolutely no part in our decision making. We respect the court's decision. Once again, thank you to Bob Stewart for talking to me for this podcast. I tweeted Christopher Hope on X. Tweet me there. Tell me what you thought of what Bob Stewart had to say. Email me also, chopper@gbnews.uk. If you enjoyed this podcast, please do tell your friend. If you really enjoyed it, please leave a 5-star rating and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That helps other people to find it. Thanks to the great team of GB News colleagues behind this show, Mick Booker and Jeff Marsh back in Paddington, and to the podcast great team here in Westminster, Rebecca Nunes and George McMillan. And most importantly of all, thank you again for listening. And if you've got more Chopper in your life, please do catch me during the week with my best interviewing and reporting for our great channel, and also on gbnews.com for our great stories. Until next time, cheerio!